Hello, my name is Lynn Miland. Welcome to Pacer Center's webinar entitled A Place to Start, Understanding the Present Level of Academic Achievement and Functional Performance Statement in the Individualized Education Program. A student's Individualized Education Program, or IEP team, which includes the parents, expects special education services to help the student improve in areas such as reading or communication skills. When we talk about improve, we need to know where we are starting from in that improvement. This process will be compared to planning a trip to another city. You need to know where you're starting from, as well as any obstacles that may make your trip more challenging. The present level of academic achievement and functional performance, or PLAAFP statement, describes the level at which your student is performing academically and functionally right now. This webinar will help you better understand how present levels are determined and what to include in the PLAAFP statement. This is the foundation for higher achievement. When developing an IEP, the place to start is the present level of academic and functional performance statement. We often call this present levels for short. In this section of the IEP team will identify your child's current level of learning or performance and the effects or impact of your child's disability on learning. And for preschool children, how the child's disability affects participation in developmentally appropriate activities. For example, how does your child's autism affect his social skills in the classroom? Or what is the impact of your child's third grade reading level in her 7th grade social studies class? Let's start with a brief overview. The PLAAFP statement will lead to the development of annual goals, accommodations, modifications, and other IEP services. The PLAAFP statement will give a snapshot of the student at a particular time and place. It will describe the level at which the student is performing academically and functionally. As used in special education, functional means routine activities of everyday living. Areas the team will consider include academic, communication, general intelligence, health, motor or physical, sensory such as vision and hearing, social and emotional, transition to post-secondary adult living beginning in 9th grade. Where will the team find information? The PLAAFP statement will include data gathered from various sources, including ending levels of performance on last year's goals, classroom grades and observations, including behavioral data, input from the student and parents, and interests and strengths, including non-curricular areas. These can provide valuable information about a student's abilities and possible motivators. Any strategies, accommodations, or assistive technology devices or services that have already shown success. Another question to consider is, how does my child compare to his or her peers? The team will also need information on how the student stands academically in comparison to his or her peers. Are there any gaps between a student's ability to perform with grade level skills? The team will look at the state academic standards for your child's grade. Minnesota has adopted a set of academic standards in language arts, math, social studies, English language proficiency, and science for kindergarten through 12th grade. The standards describe what all students in a particular grade are expected to know and able to do. The IEP team will then look at your child's performance on district and statewide assessments. Are there gaps? Are there skills and knowledge are already obtained in relationship to grade level standards? As the student's IEP team reviews the student's current performance level, they will ask these questions and include the information in the present level statement. It is important to note that the student's regular education teacher can be a key IEP team member because he or she is familiar with grade level and age level expectations for children in your child's grade. When the IEP team considers how a student is doing on grade level skills, the team will want to make sure that the designated regular education teacher brings the appropriate information to the IEP team meeting. For example, An art teacher may be a regular education teacher, but may not be familiar with the child's reading and math skills. Also, depending on the time of the year that the meeting is held, a regular education teacher for the next grade level may be the best source of regular education information needed for development of this IEP. Other teachers may attend or submit written information as well. Using all of this information, the IEP team will answer these important questions at the annual IEP meeting. What are the disability-related challenges affecting his or her learning and involvement at school? At what academic and functional level is this student currently performing? Where is the student's starting point? Is there any other information we need to provide a complete picture of this student? What strategies, accommodations, and/or assistive technology have already been successful for this student's learning? What are the grade level academic standards for this student's grade, and how does this student's skill compare to those standards? The answer to these questions will be documented at the present level of academic achievement and functional performance statement on the IEP. A student's IEP will be the roadmap guiding your child from a beginning level of performance to a higher level of performance. This is an example of where the PLAAFP statement can be found in the IEP. The information in the PLAAFP section of the IEP should be written in brief, clear, specific, and accurate statements with enough information to describe the student's current level in objective, measurable terms. If scores are reported, they should either be self-explanatory or explained. Let's look at some examples of vague phrases and how to make them more specific. The first example vaguely describes the present level of where a student is functioning socially, indicating the student is friendly and loves attention. This phrase becomes more specific when changed to greets peers appropriately for her age level. Received a math score of 50 is another example of a vague phrase used to describe a student's academic performance in math. By saying, "This student can count to 25," makes this phrase more specific. Let's look at a PLAAFP statement as it pertains to an older student who is transitioning to post-secondary adult living, which begins in 9th grade. This student is starting to explore a career path. A vague phrase states the student knows different careers. This phrase becomes more specific by saying this student can count 5 careers and 5 jobs associated with each. Some additional examples refer to a student's present level of behavior in the classroom and her difficulty with homework completion. The vague phrase indicates this student spends a lot of time in suspension due to behavior problems. Well, what specific behavior are we referring to? When redirected, she becomes angry and disrupts the class. She seldom completes homework. Doesn't really tell us much about the amount of homework she is completing and handing in. We can restate this by making it more specific and say she completes 25% of homework and turns in 10% of homework. Our final example of a vague phrase versus a specific phrase refers to a student's communication skills and how it will affect her progress in meeting grade level standards. She has a language difficulty and will have trouble meeting language arts standards. What standards are we referring to? A more specific phrase would describe the language impairment affects her progress in grade level standards that include words with multiple meanings. Given your knowledge that the PLAAFP statement will lead to the development of annual goals, accommodations, modifications, and other IEP services, let's look at a specific example of this as it pertains to a student named Ben. His PLAAFP statement says, Ben has a learning disability in the area of written language. 50% of the time he writes disorganized paragraphs with incorrect spelling and punctuation. As we can see from this statement, Ben has a need in the area of written language. To address this, Ben's annual goal is Ben will improve his writing from a skill level of writing disorganized paragraphs with incorrect spelling and punctuation 50% of the time to a level of 90% accuracy in organization, spelling, and punctuation. To break this down even further, Ben may have an objective that says, Ben will write a 6-sentence paragraph when given a subject by the teacher. The paragraph will include a topic sentence and at least 3 supporting details. The paragraph will be 90% accurate as measured on his quarterly assignment chart. Note that Ben will have another objective to address spelling and punctuation. While Ben is learning skills in the area of written language, he will also have an accommodation. Ben will be allowed to use spell check to complete written assignments. He also may have a modification while he's learning written language skills. Ben's test will not be marked down for spelling or punctuation errors. In summary, parents knowledgeable about the PLAAFP statement and the IEP process can be an effective part of the IEP team and help their child work towards higher achievement. The goal of special education includes having high expectations for children so they can meet the challenging expectations that have been established for all children and be prepared to lead productive and independent adult lives to the maximum extent possible. PACER Center is Minnesota's parent training and information center. We provide individual assistance, workshops, publications, and other resources to help families make decisions about education and other services for their children and young adults with disabilities. If you have any additional questions, you can contact PACER Center or check out the resources listed here. PACER has a companion handout entitled A Place to Start, Understanding the Present Level of Academic Achievement and Functional Performance Statement at the link above. Please take a moment and fill out the brief evaluation form when you complete this webinar. Thank you for attending.